Alright, now guys, listen. I don't know how to explain what I've done, but I've basically reversed all the English leagues. So you guys can see in the Premier League, we've got the likes of AFC Wimbledon and Accrington Stanley. In League 1, we have Leeds United and Leicester City, and all the way down in League 2, we have the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and City and United. Now, it's not all League 2 teams that can make it into the Premier League, because the Premier League only has 20 teams, while the rest of the leagues have 24. So we've put some of the League 2 teams into the Championship, just like Swinton Town, who I'm going to be managing for this experiment. The goal is just to see really what happens. Can some of the League 2 teams survive in the Premier League for like 8 or 10 seasons? And how will they do in the European competitions? And actually speaking about that, let's go and check the Champions League. So in Group A, we got Bayern Munich, Stockport County, FC Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. In Group F, we have PSG, Borussia Dortmund, Milan, and Notts County. You guys will be seeing Kylian Mbappe running around in Notts County, Rafael Leao doing some keepy ups, doing some rainbow flicks over at Notts County. This is going to be absolutely insane. And quite shockingly, those are the only 2 English teams in the Champions League. As for the Europa League, we've also only got 2 English teams. We've got Newport County in Group C, which is also kind of the group of death in the Europa League, apart from Group B, but there are no English teams in that one. And then we've got Doncaster Rovers in Group E. And in the Conference League, we've got mighty Crawley Town sneaking into Group C. And just for the joke, I've also made the manager's name reverse, in reverse. But yeah, let's just simulate to the end of the first season to see basically what happens and if anyone can make it out of their group in Europe. But before we do that, if you guys are going to enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It massively helps me out. Also, I really wonder what is gonna happen to like the team that wins the Premier League, because obviously they're gonna get a bunch of prize money. Alright guys, so season 1 is over, and in the Premier League it was Notts County winning the league on 76 points. Relegated are Newport County, Crawley Town, and Morecambe. So the European spots for next season will be Notts County, Stockport, Doncaster, Forest Green Rovers, and Salford City, along with Crewe Alexandra and Mansfield Town. Here in the Championship, it is Derby County and Blackpool going straight up to the Premier League. And then in the playoff position, we have Charlton Athletic, Barnsley, Bolton, and Fleetwood Town, with us just missing out 1 point behind the playoff spots. Relegated, we have Peterborough United, Bristol Rovers, and Cambridge United. In League 1, it's really not too shocking. We have got Southampton and Leicester City going straight up, and then we'll have Leeds, Stoke, Millwall, and Coventry in the playoffs fighting for a spot in the Championship next season. Surprisingly, Norwich City actually finished 8th, so they will have to stay in League 1 for at least 1 more season. And relegated down to League 2 are Plymouth Argyle, Shrewsbury, Wycombe, and Stevenage. Now in League 2, it is Manchester City, Chelsea, and Man United going straight up to League 1. And in the playoffs, we have got Aston Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Newcastle United. Only one of those 4 teams will get a ticket to League 1. And the bottom 3 are obviously the teams that are not in the Premier League in real life. But let's take a look at the FA Cup, and it's really not that shocking. Tottenham Hotspur managed to win that 2-1 over United. The only shocker is that we had MK Dons all the way in round 6, which is the quarterfinals. We also had Bolton in round 6. And in the Carabao Cup, it's actually Nottingham Forest winning this one against Crystal Palace, which is quite shocking. We had Wycombe and Barrow all the way in the semi-finals. Nottingham Forest beat Barrow on penalties to make it to the final. And obviously we need to check the Champions League as well. Real Madrid won against Barcelona 7-6 on penalties. Stockport actually managed to win a game against Bayern in their group, but they still finished last. And the same can be said for Notts County. However, they did manage to draw a game against AC Milan. In the Europa League, Newport County lost all of their games, scoring only 4 goals and letting in 14. Doncaster actually did manage to pick up just 2 points, but still finished bottom of their group. And Crawley Town, they actually did manage to finish 3rd in their group. However, that does not give them anything, but still very impressive, winning 2 games, drawing 1 and losing 3. Okay guys, so season 2 is not over, but the winter transfer window of season 2 is, and I thought that we should maybe just take a look at some of the Premier League teams to see if they've actually signed any players. Obviously, I'm just gonna go through every single team and then I'll just tell you guys if they've signed anyone. Alright guys, I've looked through the entire Premier League and there's not a single player who's actually good. So this does not make any sense. I mean, Notts County won the league last year. They got a shit ton of money, but they haven't bought anyone. Alright, so season 2 is over and it is Stockport County who won the Premier League, losing 8 games actually. So it is very close in the Prem, and newly promoted Derby County from last season actually finishing 3rd. And last year's winners, Notts County, finished 7th. and relegated are Fleetwood Town, Grimsby Town and Accrington Stanley. In the Championship, it will be Southampton and Leicester City promoted, both with over 100 points, and it will be Portsmouth, Charlton Athletic, Coventry and Bolton fighting for the 3rd spot in the Premier League next season. Going down is Carlisle United, Newport County and Crawley Town. I believe Crawley Town and Newport County were also in the Premier League last season, so that's back-to-back relegation for both of those teams. In League 1 we have Manchester City and Chelsea promoted straight up to the Championship, with Leeds, Aston Villa, Manchester United and Middlesbrough coming right after them. So those 4 teams will be battling for the 3rd spot. Personally, I'm gonna put my money on Manchester United. And going down we have Wigan, Cardiff, Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham United. In League 2, it is Spurs, Liverpool and Arsenal getting automatic promotion, so all the big 6 teams are now out of League 2. Fighting for the 4th spot are West Ham, Newcastle, Fulham and Wolves. The FA Cup was actually won by Aston Villa, who are fighting for promotion to the Championship. Crewe Alexandra made it all the way to the semi-finals, getting knocked out by Arsenal, and Mansfield made it all the way to the quarterfinals. In the Carabao Cup, it would be Liverpool beating Spurs 2-1, with Crewe Alexandra also making it very far in the Carabao Cup, all the way to the quarterfinals, where they did lose to the eventual winners. In the Champions League, Doncaster Rovers finished bottom of their group, but they did manage to draw 2 games. Forest Green as well, bottom of their group. Stockport, oh my lord, Stockport finished 3rd in a group consistent of Sevilla, Dortmund and Inter. They actually managed to finish 3rd. So what happened? They drew against Inter, then they won against Inter, and then they drew against Sevilla, and they lost the remaining 3 of their games. Oh my god, this is actually crazy. We have Stockport going to the Europa League, and the last team is Notts County, who also finished bottom of their group on 2 points. In the Europa League group stages, Salford, what is up with these teams and only finishing on 2 points? We got Salford City last place on 2 points as well, and we got Spurs in the Europa League, which is because they won the Carabao Cup last year, I believe. So those are the only 2 English teams that we have in the Europa League. But let's look at where Stockport they finished. Okay, so they already got knocked out in the preliminary round, losing 6-1 to Lens. In the Conference League though, we do have Nottingham Forest. Yeah, so they won the Carabao Cup last year and they finished top of their group, and they did get knocked out in the quarterfinals to Roma. Alright guys, so the 3rd season is now over and the Premier League has been won by Southampton, followed up closely behind, 3 points only behind, by Leicester City, and then a massive drop finishing in 3rd Stockport County. Salford City in 4th and Forest Green Rovers in 5th. Notts County, who won the league the first season, dropped further down in 8th. And relegated are Harrogate Town, AFC Wimbledon and Crewe Alexandra. Now in the Championship, Leeds United managed to win on 108 points, followed up by Chelsea on 107 points, and then City finishing in 3rd with 100 points. This means that they had to partake in the promotional playoff, and they did beat us 5-1 in the final. Relegated are Burton Albion, Port Vale and Cheltenham Town. And in League 1 we have Arsenal and Liverpool getting promoted. In the playoff contention we have Spurs, Aston Villa, Manchester United and West Ham, and as we can see, Spurs finished on the same amount of points as Liverpool, the only difference being that Liverpool had a better goal difference, otherwise it would have been them who had to partake in the playoffs. And relegated are Carlisle United, Bristol Rovers, Cambridge United and Newport County, who've gone down 3 consecutive seasons. In League 2 it will be Newcastle, Brentford and Brighton going straight up, with Nottingham Forest, Watford, Fulham and Crystal Palace battling for the last spot. Burnley nearly got themselves into the playoffs but just finished behind Crystal Palace on goal difference. And we've got teams like Everton and Wolves finishing 11th and 12th in League 2, still after 3 seasons. The thing with this is though that obviously the better teams that will go up quicker, so we will after 10 seasons probably still see like a Premier League side in League 1 or something like that. And the FA Cup was won by Manchester United, so they will be playing Europa League next season. And again, Crewe Alexandra making it to round 6 in the FA Cup, along with Fleetwood Town and Derby County. And the Carabao Cup was won by Manchester City over Aston Villa. Notts County, despite finishing 8th in the Premier League, made it all the way to the semi-finals. So Stockport actually finished 3rd in a pretty difficult group, probably the group of death, with AC Milan, Olympique Marseille and Ajax. They also finished 3rd last season in the group of death, so this is very good news for Stockport fans. And then we got Derby County with 0 points, finishing 4th in a group consisting of Barcelona, Hoffenheim and Lens. Crewe Alexandra also finishing 4th, but actually on 4 points, so they did manage to get some points at least. And then Gillingham also with 0 points in their group. And Aston Villa managed to make it out of their group. I'm pretty sure that they won the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup last year, that is why they are in the Europa League. Salford managed to finish 3rd in their group, which is also a pretty difficult group, and that means that they will be going down to the Conference League. League. But sadly, Stockport's run ends here because they lost 4-2 on aggregate to AS Monaco in the preliminary rounds. And Liverpool are in the Conference League because they won the Carabao Cup last year and they obviously finished first in their group. In the preliminary round, Salford City actually lost 3-1 to Besiktas, and in the quarterfinals, Liverpool lost 4-0 on aggregate to Napoli, who eventually made the final. Alright guys, so season 4 is now over, and quite unsurprisingly, Manchester City ended up winning the Premier League, finishing first, followed up by Southampton, Chelsea, Leeds United, Leicester, and then Stockport in 6th, so they are still doing very well. Relegated are Colchester, Sutton United, and Notts County, who finished 8th last season, 7th the season before that, and then in the first season they actually managed to win the league, but now they are getting relegated to the Championship. Speaking of the Championship, it would be Manchester United and Arsenal gaining automatic promotion, with Liverpool, ourselves, Coventry City and Lincoln City fighting for the 3rd spot, which we did end up getting. We actually did end up beating Liverpool 1-0 in the promotion playoff final. So Liverpool will stay down here in the Championship for at least one more season. And relegated we have Harrogate Town, Accrington Stanley and Leyton Orient. And AFC Wimbledon actually almost got relegated. They also did get relegated from the Premier League last season. And then we have Crewe Alexandra as well in 21st. Just 1 point away from relegation. Now the reason that that's interesting is because they've had a lot of successful cup runs over the last few years. In League 1 is going to be Aston Villa and Newcastle gaining automatic promotion, with West Ham, Spurs, Brentford and Brighton fighting for the last spot. And relegated are Burton Albion, Crawley, Ipswich and Cheltenham Town. In League 2 we see Bournemouth, Fulham and Forest getting promoted, with Burnley, Watford, Wolves and West Brom fighting for the last spot. And again, Everton not getting there, just finishing 8th. And then we also have Sheffield in 10th and Luton Town in 12th, and Newport County find themselves all the way down in 18th in League 2, so they've gone down every single season. Oh my god, Norwich City actually won the FA Cup against Crystal Palace. I believe that they're still in League 1, and in the semi-final they beat Hull City. I have to check where they are. Oxford United, Exeter City making it all the way to the quarterfinals. This is insane. We've got Colchester making it to the round of 16, and Tranmere Rovers as well. What the hell? Fleetwood Town, what the hell is going on here? So yes, the two finalists, Norwich City and Crystal Palace, are both in League 1 and they didn't even get to fight for promotion or anything. I think from now on I should probably check cup competitions before the leagues, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think that we will see this again. Having said that, I haven't even checked the Carabao Cup yet, and that might be... Okay, no, it's actually pretty normal. Manchester City beat Arsenal 3-2 in the final. And in the Champions League, we've got Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. Not that abnormal, but let's take a look at the English teams. Southampton finishing 4th in their group. Also a pretty tough group, to be fair. We got Salford City finishing 4th in their group. Again, a pretty tough group as well. Leicester finishing 3rd in their group, and they are gonna go to the Europa League preliminary rounds. And then we got Stockport. Stockport, bro, that's our team right here. Stockport, again, finishing 3rd. Again, in a pretty difficult group as well. They're doing so well, and I actually did check their team at the end of last season, and they don't actually have like that many good players. They have got like a couple of 70 overall players, nothing too special, but still they managed to make the most of what they've got. Now in the Europa League, it would be Dortmund beating Juventus 3-2 in the final, with Manchester United finishing 1st in their group. Obviously they did win the FA Cup last year, which means that we will have Norwich City in the Europa League next year. We got Forest Green Rovers finishing bottom of their group. In the preliminary rounds, we have Leicester losing 3-2 to Ajax and Stockport County losing 3-2 to Shakhtar, sadly. But hopefully they can go again next season. I believe they are in the Europa League because they finished 6th. And then United, oh my god, they lost 6-1 to Juventus in the round of 16. Oh my god, we've got Manchester City versus Osasuna in the Conference League final. Yeah, obviously they went to the Conference League for winning the Carabao Cup, and they absolutely destroyed everyone in their way, I'm pretty sure. Let's look. Round of 16, 7-1 on aggregate, 5-1 in the quarterfinals, 3-1 in the semifinals, so I guess the final will probably end 2-1 or something like that.
I have a feeling this is foreshadowing.
Oh my lord, and just to clarify, they did win the final 2-1 Manchester City, so that's the first international trophy for an English team in this save. 4 seasons is all it took. What? I got terminated from Swindon. I just got promoted to the Prem. How the hell did I get terminated? I got them promoted to the Premier League. I'm not gonna manage Crewe Alexandra. There's no way I have to stay down here. So season 5 is over and Arsenal have won the Premier League, followed up by Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Leicester, Leeds, Southampton, and then my old team Swindon Town. So we've got Stockport all the way down to 13th, which is a massive fall from grace. And now as you guys can see, the top 7 is consistent of only Premier League teams or usual Premier League or Championship teams. So we probably won't see another League 2 team in the Champions League or just in European football in general for a very long time. And going down we have Mansfield Town, Doncaster Rovers and Forest Green Rovers. In the Championship we have Newcastle United and Liverpool getting promoted, with Spurs, Aston Villa, Coventry and Charlton fighting for the 3rd spot. Relegated are AFC Wimbledon, Northampton and Tranmere Rovers. Wimbledon, who just got relegated from the Premier League a couple of seasons ago. In League 1 we've got back-to-back promotions for AFC Bournemouth and Brighton also going up to the Championship, with West Ham, Palace, Nottingham Forest and Burnley finishing in the playoff spots. And relegated we have Accrington, Leyton Orient, Harrogate Town and Port Vale. In League 2 it will be Wolves, West Brom and Watford gaining automatic promotion, with Plymouth Argyle, Sheffield United, Ipswich and Everton fighting for the last spot. And again, now Newport, they are doing horribly in this experiment, 22nd in League 2. In the FA Cup it's a final between Leicester City and Manchester United. We've got Doncaster making it all the way to the quarterfinals and then Burnley to the semis. And in the Carabao Cup Manchester United managed to beat Liverpool 2-1. Doncaster making it to the quarterfinals here as well. Now in the Champions League, Manchester City finished 1st in their group as expected, and then we have Chelsea finishing 1st in their group. Then we have Leeds finishing 3rd in a group with Dortmund, Barcelona and Victoria Pilsen, and then Southampton finishing bottom of their group, which is a pretty difficult group. Now Chelsea, they did lose to Leverkusen in the round of 16, but City managed to win against Inter, but they did get knocked out by Juventus 4-2 in the quarterfinals, who eventually made the final against Bayern. Norwich, who won the FA Cup last year, finished 4th in their group, again a pretty difficult group here in Europa League. And then we've got Stockport finishing 4th in their group as well, probably their last ever European appearance. Leicester finishing 3rd, dropping down to the Conference League, and then Leeds United losing 3-1 to RB Leipzig in the preliminary round. In the Conference League we only have Blackpool, but they managed to finish 3rd in their group, which doesn't give them anything. Okay, so just for fun I decided just to scout some of the players from Blackpool, since they were the team that usually isn't a Premier League team that finished the highest in the table last season, and they've actually got some pretty good players. They've got Wahed Fagir, who's 79 rated, then they've got Fermin Lopez at 78, KK Top at 76, and then they've got some 74 rated regens. So they're actually a team who have gone out and signed some players, which is very good to see, and I'm looking forward to see where they will finish this season if they keep a hold of their players. Alright guys, so the 6th season is over, and as expected Manchester City are champions, and as you guys can see that the Premier League actually does look pretty normal. The top 10 is consistent of teams who are usually in the Premier League, and then obviously we got Swindon Town in 11th, we also got Blackpool in 12th, Stockport 13th, so we still got a lot of League 2 teams here in the Premier League, but relegated are Barrow, MK Dons and Portsmouth. And in the Championship it is West Ham and Brighton going straight up to the Premier League, with ourselves, Bournemouth, Coventry and Reading finishing in the playoffs. I swear to you, Coventry, they always finish in the playoffs. And it would be Bournemouth winning the playoff final against us, and they will be joining West Ham and Brighton to go to the Premier League next season. Relegated are Sutton United, Grimsby Town and Morecambe. In League 1 we've got Nottingham Forest and Brentford getting promoted, with Fulham, Burnley, Preston and Middlesbrough fighting for the last spot. And Everton, they did get promoted through the playoffs last season, and they finished 19th in League 1. And relegated are Millwall, Northampton, AFC Wimbledon, who started off in the Premier League, and Tranmere Rovers. So Wimbledon are all the way back to League 2. Speaking of League 2, it is Blackburn Rovers, Sheffield United finally, and Plymouth Argyle going straight up, with Ipswich Town, Luton Town, Birmingham City and Wigan Athletic fighting for the last spot. In the FA Cup, Newcastle won against Manchester United on penalties, and Stockport actually made it all the way to the semi-finals. Despite finishing 13th in the Premier League, they're still doing quite well in these cup competitions. Obviously they're also the team who's done very well in Europe, and us ourselves made it all the way to the quarterfinals, where we did get beat by Stockport. And the Carabao Cup was won by Chelsea 2-0 against Leeds. Both are Premier League teams. Again, we made it all the way to the semi-finals, and so did Charlton Athletic. So we're seeing a lot of low-tier teams making it very far in these cup competitions. And in the Champions League, we've almost got a Group A, just like in real life, just switch Benfica with Copenhagen. But we have Manchester United finishing 2nd in their group. Then we have Arsenal actually finishing 4th in their group, with Inter, Sevilla and Young Boys, quite shockingly. Manchester City finishing 2nd in their group, and Chelsea finishing 3rd in their group. Now Manchester City, they did end up losing in the round of 16 4-1 to Barcelona, and United made it to the quarterfinals, where they lost 4-3 to Inter. In the in the Europa League, Sporting actually beat Real Madrid in the final 2-1. That's crazy. And we have Leeds United making it through the group stages in the Europa League in a group consisting of Roma, Warsaw and Bodø Glimt. And Leicester City finishing 1st in their group, with Real Betis, Betis, Utrecht and Helsinki. Leeds, they got knocked out in the round of 16, 1-0 to Villarreal. And Chelsea, they lost on penalties against Lille. Leicester made it all the way to the quarterfinals where they lost 4-2 to Roma. And in the Conference League, we have Southampton finishing second. Just so you guys know that I haven't showed you guys the Conference League every single season because it's not all seasons that we've had a team in the Conference League. But Southampton, they did lose in the preliminary round to Fenerbahce 4-2 in aggregate. Okay, so I decided to look at some of the Premier League clubs again and just look at Blackpool. Look at their team. They've got an 80 rated Fermin Lopez in midfield, 79 rated Fagir. I mean, those are still the same players, but then they've got this guy Nicolo Abate, 80 rated center back, 79 striker. I mean, they've got two 79 rated strikers and then an 80 rated goalkeeper, and to top it off, they've got an 81 rated attacking midfielder. So at least Blackpool is a club that knows what to do with the money that they've been given. So let's see if they can finish in a European spot for this season. I just checked the Premier League and they, oh my, where are they? They're 20th. How are they 20th in the league? Oh my, what is this? How are they 20th in the league with that team? How does that even make any sense? Blackpool are last place in the league with that team. I just showed you guys the team. I promise you, the likes of Derby County, their team is not better than Blackpool's team. I mean, I guess we have got a lot of usual Premier League teams up here, but there's no reason that Blackpool should be lost in the league. Stockport are still doing very well. They're 12th in the league. I mean, they're just built different in this experiment. So I decided to look at some of Stockport's players, and they also have some pretty decent players, but still I think that Blackpool have got way better players and that they should definitely be in the position that Stockport are currently in. Alright guys, season 7 is now over and Manchester United won the Premier League, followed up by City, Newcastle, Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea down in 8th, pretty much, you know, basically what you would expect really. And actually we have Bradford in 11th and Swindon in 12th. Now where are Stockport actually got relegated? Nah, that's crazy. And Blackpool finished 17th. Southampton as well got relegated. No, wait, didn't they win the Premier League like a couple of years ago? And now they got relegated. That's absolutely crazy. But maybe I should check out Bradford City's team considering that they finished 11th in the Prem. While we are waiting for the scout report, I can tell you guys that we finally did get promoted alongside MK Dons, and not Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Brentford or Aston Villa got promoted, but they might have a chance in the playoffs. Coventry City finished 13th, so their playoff run is now over. And relegated are Mansfield Town, Wrexham and Crewe Alexandra. In League 1, Crystal Palace and Wolves get automatic promotion, with Middlesbrough, Norwich, Peterborough and Sheffield finishing in the playoff spots. I do believe that Sheffield, they did get promoted from League 2 last season, so it's good to see that they might get back-to-back promotion. And relegated are Swansea, Morecambe, Grimsby and Sutton United. In League 2, Birmingham, Millwall and Luton Town get promoted. Finally, I believe the last Premier League team is now out of League 2, and Newport County, who started off in the Premier League, are now sitting 23rd in League 2. Crawley Town as well started off in the Premier League and they're now 21st. I believe they did make it out of their... No, they finished 3rd in the Conference League one season, I believe. As for the FA Cup, Liverpool won that 1-0 against Manchester United, with Wrexham making a semi-final run. Pretty impressive. They did manage to knock out Spurs on their way, along with Chelsea in the round before that. The Carabao Cup was won by Newcastle 1-0 over Leicester, and Plymouth Argyle managed to make it all the way to the quarterfinals. City finished 2nd in their Champions League group. Spurs actually finished 3rd, which is probably the most Spurs thing to do. Liverpool also finished 3rd apparently, which is quite shocking. Even more shockingly, Ajax finished 4th. And then to top it off, Manchester United did finish 1st in their group. Now City, they lost in the round of 16 to Bayern, and United, they lost 5-4 on aggregate to AC Milan. In the Europa League, Arsenal finished 1st in their group, along with Newcastle in their group. And Liverpool lost to Almeria 2-1 in the preliminary round. Newcastle lost to Real Madrid in the round of 16, and Arsenal also lost to Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, and Spurs lost to Lille on penalties. Chelsea finished 3rd in the Conference League. Are you kidding me? That's actually incredible that they finished 3rd in their group. And we finally did get our scout report back from Bradford City, and to be honest, their team is really not that good. Again, especially compared to Blackpool, but I mean, they've still got some pretty good players, and this guy is an exciting prospect by the looks of it. Alright guys, season 8 is now over, and in the Premier League it would be Arsenal winning the league, with City coming in 2nd, Spurs, Newcastle United, Liverpool and Leicester getting European football, with us just missing out on goal difference. Relegated are Swindon Town, which was our former team, and then Doncaster and Derby County. And again, Blackpool are sitting in 15th, so they're not doing a good job. In the Championship, we've got Southampton and Wolves going straight up, with Aston Villa, Forest, Burnley and Sheffield fighting for the 3rd spot. So Sheffield United, they might be able to get 3 promotions in a row. And Stockport, they did get relegated last season from the Prem, and they managed to only finish 15th in the Championship. And relegated are Bolton Wanderers, Fleetwood Town and Exeter City. In League 1 it would be Hull City and Norwich getting promoted, with Watford, Blackburn, Middlesbrough and Preston fighting for the 3rd spot. Relegated are Harrogate Town, Queen's Park Rangers, Wrexham and Millwall. And in League 2 the 3 promoted sides are Swansea City, Northampton and AFC Wimbledon, with Wigan, Morecambe, Accrington and Burton fighting for the 3rd spot. And apparently Cardiff City finished 22nd in League 2. That's really not looking good for them. In the FA Cup, Manchester City beat Nottingham Forest, who are a Championship team, and Bristol City, who are League 1 side, managed to make it all the way to the semis. The Carabao Cup was won by Manchester United over Bradford, who are currently a Premier League team. In the Champions League, Newcastle finished 3rd in their group, with Spurs topping theirs and Manchester United coming in 2nd, as well as City, of all teams, finishing 3rd in their group with Sporting, Bayern and Shakhtar. United, they did lose to Inter in the round of 16 though, and Spurs lost 4-3 on penalties to PSG in the quarterfinals. In the Europa League, Arsenal topped their group and Liverpool finished 3rd in a group with Rapid Vienna, Hoffenheim and Bordeaux Glimt. Now City lost 6-4 on aggregate to Sevilla in the round of 16, and Newcastle lost 7-4 on aggregate to Sevilla in the quarterfinals, as well as Arsenal getting knocked out by Stade Rennes 5-3 on penalties. And in the Conference League we have Leeds topping their group, and they made it to the quarterfinals where they did lose 4-3 to AZ Alkmaar. We also have Liverpool in here because they finished 3rd in their Champions League group and they lost 3-2 to Osasuna in the semi-finals, who ended up winning the whole thing. Alright guys, season 9 is now over and it is Manchester United winning the league, with Arsenal in 2nd, Liverpool in 3rd and ourselves in 4th. And this season it would be Salford City, Aston Villa and Bournemouth getting relegated. In the Championship, Swindon Town and Derby County got promoted right away, and Stockport are now in the playoffs, along with Gillingham, Crystal Palace and Notts County, who did win the league the first season I believe. Relegated are Colchester, Forest Green Rovers and Lincoln City, and Burnley are sitting 18th in the Championship, and Sheffield United as well, 17th in the Championship. Weren't they just in the playoffs last season? I'm pretty sure they were. The same goes for Nottingham Forest. They were 100%. They won the they were in the FA Cup final last season and they were also in the playoffs last season, but apparently they did not get promoted and they did horribly in the following season. In League 1 is Peterborough United getting promoted alongside Sunderland, with Mansfield Town, Fleetwood, Fulham and Birmingham City fighting for the last spot. Relegated are Northampton, Exeter City, Plymouth Argyle and Morecambe. And if we just take a look at this, we see Everton are still in League 1. They're currently sitting 13th. And finally in League 2 it will be Accrington Stanley, Burton Albion and Grimsby Town gaining automatic promotion, with Sheffield United, Harrogate Town, Newport County and Wrexham in the playoffs. So Newport, they might even get promoted yet again. I don't think that they'll be able to make the Premier League, but they might get promoted. I sure hope that they will. Oh my god, Nottingham Forest, they won the FA. How does that make any sense? They lost it last season. This season they won the FA Cup despite finishing like what, 14th in the Championship. And Peterborough United made the final. They did get promoted from League 1 to the Championship this season and they made the final. They knocked out Arsenal, and Forest, they beat Burnley. Wrexham made it all the way to the quarterfinals. The same goes for Coventry City. So Nottingham Forest, they will be playing Europa League football next season. And Manchester City won the Carabao Cup. Nothing too special here other than Norwich making it to the semis and Swindon making it to the quarterfinals alongside Doncaster as well. In the Champions League, Spurs, they finished 2nd in their group. Arsenal topped their group. Newcastle finished bottom of their group, which is highly surprising and disappointing. And City finished 3rd, which is even more disappointing. And Arsenal, they lost 5-4 to RB Salzburg in the round of 16, with Spurs losing to Juventus 6-3 on aggregate in the semi-finals. In the Europa League, Liverpool finished 3rd for a 2nd season in a row, and Manchester United topped their group. I know this is not Premier League, but even Real Madrid finished 3rd in their Europa League group, which is quite shocking to see. Now City, they did lose to Leipzig in the preliminary rounds, but Manchester United, they went all the way to the final where Osasuna won yet again. I'm pretty sure that they did win last season as well. I think that was the Conference League that Osasuna won last season, so maybe next season they'll win the Champions League. We'll have to wait and see. But Leicester, they managed to top their group in the Conference League and they lost to Real Madrid in the round of 16, with Liverpool losing 3-1 on aggregate to Villarreal. Alright guys, season 10 is now over and Liverpool finished 1st in the Premier League, followed up by Spurs, ourselves and Leeds United. City finished all the way down in 7th with Arsenal in 8th, and Manchester United finished all the way down in 12th, place. And it would be Swindon Town, Derby County and Notts County getting relegated, with Blackpool again finishing 17th. And as I just said, Blackpool finished 17th, but they still have this team with a bunch of 80 overall players, even some 83 rated players. I mean, this is just not a team that you would expect to finish 17th in the Premier League. I also looked at MK Dons, who finished pretty high up the table, and they've also got a pretty good team. I would still say that Blackpool have a better team, but MK Dons, they know how to work with their players. In the Championship, it would be Bournemouth and Aston Villa gaining automatic promotion, with Forest, Crystal Palace, Stockport and Norwich fighting for the last spot. And relegated are Doncaster, Mansfield Town and Oxford United. In League 1, it would be Colchester and Huddersfield going straight up, with Preston, Crewe Alexandra, Forest Green Rovers and Bristol City fighting for the third spot. And it would be Newport County, who did get promoted last season in the playoffs. They're going straight back down alongside Burton Albion, Stoke City and Grimsby Town. And Everton finishing 18th in League 1 does not look too good for them. In League 2, we have Bristol Rovers, Wigan and Harrogate Town going straight up, with Sheffield United, Cheltenham Town, Sutton United and Tranmere Rovers fighting for the last spot. In the FA Cup, we made the finals, but we did lose 4-3 to Leeds United, and Stockport, they're still doing very well in cup competitions, making the quarterfinals. In the Carabao Cup, it would be Liverpool beating United 1-0 in the final, and Sunderland made it all the way to the quarterfinals alongside Hull City. In the Champions League, Manchester United finished second in their group, Arsenal also finished second, so did we in our group, but Liverpool yet again finished third in their group. The other times it was in Europa League, but now it's also in the Champions League. Arsenal got knocked out to Real Betis in the round of 16, and Manchester United got knocked out to Inter. And then we lost to Stade Rennes in the semi-finals, who ended up winning the whole thing. They won 10-9 on penalties against Leverkusen. In the Europa League, Spurs finished first in their group, and Forest finished third in theirs. Liverpool lost 5-2 to Basel on aggregate, and Spurs got knocked out to Real Sociedad in the quarterfinals. And in the Conference League, where City are partaking, they finished second in their group. And Forest, they lost to Rapid Vienna in the round of 16 4-2 on aggregate, and City again lost to Sevilla 3-1 on aggregate this time. So I think we've only had one European winner in all these 10 seasons, but now it's time to take a look at some of the big clubs and which players that they have. So looked at Arsenal's team, they have all the star players still, but they only have 18 players in their squad. They still got Martinelli, still got Ramsdale and Saka, and still got Ødegaard, but again only 18 players, and I think that that's why they're not doing that well. And the same can be said with Chelsea. They also only have 18 players, still some good players, Enzo Fernandez, Rooney Bardghji, Reece James as well, but still only 18 players in their squad. Now Liverpool on the other hand have 28 players in their squad, and they have Trent, they still have Gakpo. They've got some pretty good players and high rated players in their squad, and I mean it's pretty apparent since they did win the Premier League this season. Now City, they didn't even gain Champions League football despite still having Haaland and Foden in their team. And United, I believe they finished 13th this season. Look at the players that they have. They still have like a lot of 86 plus rated players. But anyways, that was all for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the very next one.